The moment Dmitry switched to Russian, I knew he thought I couldn't understand. Она даже не знает, что бокал в ее руке стоит больше, чем ее месячная зарплата. He laughed to his business partner Konstantin across our marble kitchen island. She doesn't even know the glass in her hand costs more than her monthly salary. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed. Because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. I continued chopping vegetables for the dinner I'd offered to prepare, my knife finding its steady rhythm against the cutting board. 8 months of flawless Russian lessons with Professor Volkov, paid for through one of my family's many educational foundations, had prepared me for exactly this moment. But Dmitry Kozlov, my fiancé of 6 months, believed I was Maya Chen, a struggling junior accountant at a mid-tier firm, barely scraping by in San Francisco's brutal rental market. You're too generous with her, Dmitry, Konstantin replied in Russian, his voice carrying that particular Moscow inflection that spoke of old money and older connections. Pretty face? Yes, but what does she bring to the table? Your mother will have questions. Dmitry's laugh was sharp, dismissive. My mother will never meet her. This is temporary. Something fun before the serious business of marriage begins. You know how it is. The knife in my hand paused for just a fraction of a second. Not from hurt. I'd suspected his intentions for weeks now, but from the sheer stupidity of his assumption. Dmitry thought he was using me. The irony was exquisite. And the funding? Konstantin pressed, switching to English as his phone buzzed. The oligarchs are getting impatient. Novatech needs to show results by Q3 or they'll pull out. Relax, Dmitry said, also switching back to English, finally remembering I was in the room. The prototype is nearly ready. Besides, I have other investors lined up. Serious money from Moscow. I plated the salmon I'd been preparing, adding the garnish with practiced precision. Dinner's ready, I announced softly, playing the role I'd perfected over 6 months of careful observation. Dmitry barely glanced up from his laptop. Just leave it, Maya. We have work to discuss. Of course. I set the plates down gently, then retreated toward the bedroom of his Pacific Heights apartment. The apartment whose mortgage, I knew from my research, was 3 months overdue. I'll be reading if you need anything. As soon as the bedroom door closed, I pulled out my encrypted phone. The small device looked like any standard smartphone, but it connected directly to Chen Industries' secure network. My father's company. My company, though the world knew me only as the invisible daughter who avoided the spotlight, had built its empire on rare earth minerals and strategic technology investments. We didn't just fund startups. We owned the future. I opened the secure app and pulled up the file I'd been building on Novatech Solutions. Dmitry's revolutionary AI platform was impressive on paper, but my analyst had found something interesting. The core algorithm was stolen, lifted almost entirely from a Taiwanese research lab that my family's foundation had funded 3 years ago. The researcher who developed it, Dr. Lin Wei, had died in what was ruled an accidental laboratory fire. Convenient. My fingers flew across the screen, pulling up another folder. The Russian oligarchs Konstantin had mentioned weren't just any investors. They were Dmitry Volkov and Alexei Petrov, 2 men with deep ties to Moscow's most dangerous circles. Men who'd been on my family's watch list for years due to their habit of stealing technology, eliminating the competition, and claiming innovations as their own. Men who had no idea that Chen Industries had been investigating them for the past 18 months. A text appeared on my screen from my head of security. Marcus. Target acquired location data. Volkov and Petrov meeting at Alexander's Steakhouse, 8 p.m. tomorrow. Confirm surveillance? I typed back. Confirmed. Full audio and video. I want everything. Another message followed, this one from my brother David, officially the CFO of Chen Industries, but really my partner in running the family empire. Board meeting moved to Thursday. Father wants updates on the tech acquisition strategy. He's asking about your sabbatical. I smiled at that. My father, Jonathan Chen, thought I was taking time off to find myself after my doctorate in computer science from MIT. He knew I'd been dating someone, even approved of my taking time to experience normal life before the weight of corporate responsibility crushed any chance at authentic relationships. What he didn't know was that I'd been investigating Novatech from the inside, building an airtight case that would not only bring down Dmitry Kozlov, but also give us leverage against the Russian network that had been stealing Western technology for years. Maya? Dmitry's voice called from the living room. Can you bring us some of that Japanese whiskey? The Yamazaki 18? The $300 bottle I'd brought as a housewarming gift when I'd first started staying over, carefully chosen from my family's collection. He'd been serving it to business associates ever since, never once acknowledging that I'd provided it. Coming, I called back, slipping my phone into my pocket. I found them in the living room, Dmitry's laptop open to a presentation that made my blood run cold. On the screen was the detailed schematic of Dr. Lin Wei's algorithm, the one that had died with him in that laboratory fire. But there was something else, something my analysts hadn't caught yet. A secondary application protocol that looked designed for financial manipulation. This wasn't just about AI. This was about creating a system that could predict and manipulate market movements. With the right data and the right connections, someone could use this to conduct insider trading on a scale that would make the 2008 financial crisis look like a minor correction. Your whiskey, gentlemen, I said, setting down 2 glasses with carefully measured pours. Konstantin's eyes tracked me with the kind of assessment that made my skin crawl. You know, Dmitry, your little friend is quite efficient, very accommodating. Maya knows her place, Dmitry said, not even looking up from his screen. Then, in Russian again. Она идеальная временная игрушка. Достаточно хороша для постели. Слишком простая для чего-то большего. She's the perfect temporary toy. Good enough for bed, too simple for anything more. I kept my face carefully blank, playing the role of the ignorant girlfriend who couldn't understand. But inside, I was calculating. Every insult, every dismissive comment was another nail in the coffin I was building. I should go, Konstantin said, checking his heavy gold watch. A Patek Philippe that my trained eye recognized as one of only 50 made. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Come prepared with final numbers. Volkov doesn't like to be kept waiting. After Konstantin left, Dmitry finally closed his laptop and looked at me. Really looked at me for the first time that evening. You're upset. No, I'm fine, I lied, letting a slight tremor enter my voice. Just tired. Work was difficult today. His expression softened into what he probably thought was sympathy, but read more like condescension. Still having trouble with that senior accountant? What's his name, Richard? Robert, I corrected, referencing the fictional difficult boss I'd created for my cover story. He rejected my budget proposal again today, said my analysis was juvenile. Dmitry pulled me onto the couch beside him, his arm around my shoulders in a gesture that would have seemed protective if I didn't know better. You're trying too hard, Maya. Not everyone is cut out for high-level analytical work. Maybe you should consider something more suited to your strengths. Like what? I asked, knowing the answer but needing to hear him say it. I don't know. Event planning? Something creative and social? You're good with people, good at making things look nice. He gestured around his apartment at the small improvements I'd made. The fresh flowers I bought weekly, the art I'd carefully selected from local galleries, the throw pillows that had transformed his bachelor pad aesthetic into something approaching adult sophistication. All purchased with my family's money, all credited to his taste whenever guests visited. Maybe you're right, I said softly, leaning into him and feeling his chest expand with satisfaction. Men like Dmitri loved nothing more than a woman who deferred to their judgment. Of course I'm right, he said, kissing the top of my head. I want to take care of you, Maya. Once Novatech takes off, you won't have to work at all. You can focus on making a beautiful home for us. That sounds wonderful, I murmured, while my mind calculated exactly how many laws he'd broken in the past 6 months alone. Corporate espionage, theft of intellectual property, securities fraud, and possibly, if my suspicions about Dr. Lin Wei's death were correct, something much darker. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, glancing at the screen. A message from Marcus. Confirm? You want us present at tomorrow's meeting? I typed back quickly. Negative. I'll handle it personally. Work? Dmitri asked, his tone suggesting that my job was barely worth the interruption. Just a reminder about a deadline, I said, tucking the phone away. Nothing important. Good. He stood, stretching. I need to review some documents tonight. Why don't you go to bed? I'll join you later. Translation: he'd be up late video calling with Moscow, discussing details he didn't want me to overhear. I'd learned his patterns well. Between midnight and 2 a.m., when he thought I was asleep, he conducted his real business. The business he believed was invisible to his simple American girlfriend. What he didn't know was that every video call, every encrypted message, every private conversation was being recorded. Not by me directly, that would be illegal, but by the security system he'd asked me to set up for him last month. The same system I'd convinced him he needed after mentioning a fictional break-in at a friend's apartment. The system that, unbeknownst to him, was provided and monitored by Chen Industries' private security division. Good night, I said, kissing his cheek. Don't work too late. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. In the bedroom, I waited 30 minutes before pulling out my laptop, an old MacBook that appeared to be on its last legs, but was actually custom-built with military-grade security and processing power. I connected to Chen Industries' secure server and opened the live feed from Dmitri's office. There he was, confident and comfortable, video calling with a man I recognized immediately from my research, Dmitry Volkov. Not just an oligarch, but according to Interpol's classified files, which Chen Industries had access to through our government contracts, a former FSB officer with a trail of bodies behind him. The girl is becoming a liability, Volkov said in Russian, his face filling the screen. He was older than I'd expected, maybe early 60s, with the kind of hard features that came from a lifetime of violence. She knows nothing, Dmitri insisted. She's harmless. There's no such thing as harmless, Volkov said coldly. Only useful or dangerous. Once the deal closes, you'll need to cut ties. Completely. Something in his tone made my blood freeze. Completely, in Volkov's world, didn't mean a breakup. It meant making someone disappear. "That's not necessary," Dmitri said, and for a moment I almost felt something like gratitude. Then he continued, "I'll just move back to Moscow after the IPO. She'll never find me. Americans are too trusting." "You're soft," Volkov said with disgust. "This is why you need us. You lack the stomach for what's required." He leaned closer to his camera. "The Chen Industries problem is escalating. Our sources say they're investigating the Lin incident." My heart stopped. They knew we were investigating. "What do they know?" Dmitri asked, suddenly alert. "Nothing concrete yet. But Jonathan Chen is persistent, like a dog with a bone. We may need to send a message. Something to make him understand that some bones are poisonous." "A message how?" Dmitri's voice had gone very quiet. Volkov smiled, and it was the smile of a predator. "Chen has a daughter. Only child. Stays out of the spotlight. Lives in San Francisco." He paused meaningfully. "She would be persuasive leverage." The room seemed to tilt around me. They were talking about kidnapping me, about using me against my father. The irony would have been funny if it weren't so terrifying. "That's extreme," Dmitri said, but he didn't sound horrified. He sounded calculating. "Extreme is necessary when dealing with billionaires," Volkov replied. "Besides, it would solve multiple problems. Chen backs off, we acquire his rare earth contracts, and you prove you have the necessary ruthlessness for our organization." "I'll think about it," Dmitri said finally. "Don't think too long. We move next week. The algorithm launch coordinates with the market manipulation. Everything must be perfect." Volkov's image froze, then disappeared as the call ended. I sat in the darkness, my laptop screen the only source of light, and forced myself to breathe slowly, methodically. The way my father had taught me when I was 12 and kids at school discovered who I really was. When the death threats started, when we had to hire private security, and I couldn't go anywhere without bodyguards. "Emotions are information," he'd said. "Fear tells you where the danger is. Anger shows you what matters. But neither should control your response. Calculate, plan, execute." I closed the laptop and lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Dmitri's voice continue in the other room as he made more calls. My mind raced through possibilities, scenarios, contingencies. They wanted to use Maya Chen against Jonathan Chen, not realizing Maya Chen and Maya Chen were the same person. Dmitri thought he was playing me, while planning to help kidnap the real me. The layers of irony were almost beautiful, but the danger was real. Volkov wasn't bluffing. Men like him didn't bluff. They acted. I pulled out my encrypted phone and sent a message to Marcus. "Priority 1 situation, Security Protocol Delta. Initiate immediately." His response came within seconds. "Confirmed. Team, mobilizing. ETA to your location. 8 minutes." Then I sent a message to David. "Need to move up timeline. Conference call with father in 1 hour. Priority Alpha." Priority Alpha was our code for life-threatening situations. David would know exactly what it meant. Finally, I sent one more message, this one to our family lawyer, Patricia Kim. "Need full documentation ready by Thursday, including criminal referrals to FBI and SEC. Operation Checkmate is live." Operation Checkmate. The plan I'd been developing for 3 months, since I'd first realized that Dmitri's startup wasn't just about stolen technology, but about something much bigger and more dangerous. Dmitri came to bed around 1 a.m., sliding under the covers and pulling me close. I kept my breathing even, pretending to be asleep. even as his arm tightened around me in what might have been possessiveness, or might have been something darker. Spokojnej noci, moja glupa igruszka, he whispered against my hair. Good night, my stupid toy. I let him hold me, let him believe I was oblivious and helpless, while my mind continued to work through every angle of what would come next. Tomorrow, Dmitri would meet with Volkov and Petrov at Alexander's steakhouse, believing he was sealing a deal that would make him rich and powerful. What he didn't know was that Chen Industries already owned 40% of the rare earth mineral contracts they were planning to steal. That the SEC had been briefed on the market manipulation scheme. That the FBI's cybercrimes division was just waiting for my signal to move in. But more than that, he didn't know that the woman sleeping in his arms wasn't a naive junior accountant struggling to pay rent. She was Maya Chen, daughter of Jonathan Chen, holder of a PhD in computer science from MIT, sitting board member of Chen Industries, though only the board knew it, and the person who'd been systematically dismantling his operation from the inside for 6 months. The next morning, I woke to find Dmitri already dressed in one of his expensive suits. Bryony, purchased on credit he couldn't afford. Big meeting today, he said, adjusting his tie in the mirror. I'll be late tonight. Don't wait up. Good luck, I said sleepily, playing my role one more time. After he left, I allowed myself exactly 5 minutes to feel the weight of what I was about to do. 5 minutes to acknowledge the small part of me that had hoped, foolishly, that maybe Dmitri had genuine feelings for me. That maybe, underneath the arrogance and deception, there was something real. But there wasn't. There never had been. He'd seen an easy mark, nothing more. The 5 minutes ended. I got up, showered, and opened my closet. Hidden behind the modest dresses and practical shoes that Maya Chen, struggling accountant, would wear was a second wardrobe. Tom Ford suits, Hermes scarves, Louboutin heels, the armor of Maya Chen, corporate executive. I selected a black Armani suit with a silk blouse, the color of fresh blood. Statement pieces for a statement day. My phone rang. David's number. Morning, I answered. You're sure about this? My brother asked without preamble. Once you pull the trigger, there's no walking it back. I'm sure. Father wants to meet at the house. He's concerned. He should be. Volkov mentioned me specifically last night. They're planning something. David's sharp intake of breath told me everything I needed to know about how seriously he took the threat. When? They said next week, but I don't trust that timeline. We need to move now. Agreed. I'm sending a team to your location. Already done. Marcus has people here. I checked my watch. I need you to call a full board meeting for tomorrow morning. Emergency session. Maya, the board doesn't know you're... They're about to find out. It's time to stop hiding. A long pause. Then, Father won't like this. Father will understand that survival trumps secrecy. Tell him I'll explain everything tonight. I hung up and pulled out the burner phone I'd bought weeks ago for this specific purpose. One number was programmed into it. I dialed. Special Agent Rodriguez, a crisp voice answered. This is Maya Chen. I believe you've been waiting for my call. Another pause, this one pregnant with significance. Ms. Chen, we've been hoping you'd reach out. I have information about a scheme involving market manipulation, corporate espionage, theft of intellectual property, and possible murder. I also have evidence of Russian oligarchs operating illegally on U.S. soil. I'm listening. Not over the phone. I need a meeting. Today. And I need witness protection protocols initiated for myself and my family. That's That's a significant request. I'm providing evidence against Dmitry Volkov and Alexei Petrov. I believe that's significant enough. I could hear Rodriguez's breathing change. Those names meant something to him. Where and when? FBI San Francisco field office. 2 hours. I'll bring my attorney. We'll be ready. I hung up and immediately called Patricia Kim. She answered on the first ring. I saw the alpha code. Talk to me. I need you at FBI headquarters in 2 hours. We're doing this today. Jesus, Maya. Are you sure you're safe? I have Marcus's team outside. But Patricia, this is bigger than I thought. They're planning to kidnap me to get leverage over my father. What? They don't know Maya Chen the girlfriend and Maya Chen the heiress are the same person. It would be funny if they weren't planning to make me disappear. I'm on my way. Don't leave that apartment until I get there. Already dressed and ready. I looked at myself in the mirror one last time. The woman looking back wasn't the soft, struggling accountant Dmitry thought he knew. She was armored. Ready. Dangerous. My encrypted phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Team in position. Ready when you are. I picked up my briefcase, the one containing 6 months of documented evidence, financial records, video recordings, and enough proof to bury Dmitry Kozlov and his Russian partners for decades. Then I walked out of the apartment, leaving behind the keys on the counter with a note in Russian. Я всё понимала. Каждое слово. Увидимся в суде, Дмитрий. I understood everything. Every word. See you in court, Dmitry. The elevator descended smoothly toward the lobby. Through the glass walls, I could see San Francisco spreading out below, the morning sun glinting off the bay. It was going to be a beautiful day. A beautiful day to burn an empire to the ground. Marcus met me in the lobby, his team surrounding me in a loose formation that looked casual, but was precisely choreographed. Vehicles ready, Ms. Chen. Thank you, Marcus. Is the route secure? 3 alternates planned. We're monitoring police bands and traffic. If there's any sign of trouble, we abort and go to the safe house. Good. I slid into the back of the armored SUV, Patricia already waiting inside with her briefcase open, papers spread across her lap. I've got preliminary documentation ready for the FBI, she said, not looking up. But Maya, you need to understand what you're walking into. Once you go on record with the Bureau, your life changes. No more anonymity. No more quiet life. I know. Do you? She finally looked at me, her expression fierce. You'll be testifying against men who kill people for less than what you're about to do. You'll need permanent security. Every relationship will be scrutinized. Every decision questioned. Your father built Chen Industries from nothing specifically so you could have a normal life, and you're about to throw that away. To save lives, I said quietly. Including my own. Including his. Volkov won't stop with me, Patricia. You know that. Once they have what they want from Novatech, they'll move on to other targets, other companies, other people. She studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Your father is going to be so proud of you. And so furious. I smiled despite everything. That's his default state where I'm concerned. The drive to the FBI field office took 20 minutes through morning traffic. I spent the time reviewing my documentation one last time, making sure every piece of evidence was organized, labeled, and explained. The algorithm theft, the market manipulation scheme, the suspicious death of Dr. Lin Wei, the Russian connection, the planned kidnapping. It was all there, built carefully over months of dangerous investigation. We're here, Marcus announced as we pulled into the underground garage. I'll be waiting when you're done. This might take a while. I've got all day, Miss Chen. Patricia and I rode the elevator up to the third floor, where Special Agent Rodriguez was waiting with a team of 4 other agents. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe early 40s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Ms. Chen. Ms. Kim. Thank you for coming in. He gestured toward a conference room. We've assembled a task force. Given the names you mentioned, this is being treated as a matter of national security. National security. The weight of those words settled over me as we entered the conference room. 6 people sat around the table. FBI, SEC, and someone I recognized from the Department of Justice. This was real. This was happening. Ms. Chen, Rodriguez began once we were seated. Before we start, I need to confirm. You're here voluntarily. You understand you're not under arrest or investigation, and you're prepared to provide testimony regarding criminal activities you've witnessed or have knowledge of. Yes to all 3. Good. Then let's begin. You mentioned Dmitry Volkov and Alexei Petrov. Tell us everything you know. I opened my briefcase and pulled out the first folder. 6 months ago, I became romantically involved with Dmitry Kozlov, founder and CEO of Novatech Solutions. At the time, I didn't know about his connections to Russian organized crime or his involvement in corporate espionage. But I quickly learned. How did you learn? One of the SEC investigators asked. I met her eyes steadily. Because I'm not who Dmitry thinks I am. My name is Maya Chen. My father is Jonathan Chen, CEO of Chen Industries. For the past 6 months, I've been conducting an undercover investigation into Novatech and its financial backers. The room went absolutely silent. Rodriguez leaned forward. You're telling us you've been working undercover? Without authorization? Without backup? With private security, yes. And with the full cooperation of Chen Industries' legal team. I gestured to Patricia. Everything I've done has been documented and reviewed by counsel to ensure it's admissible in court. Ms. Chen, the DOJ representative said carefully, do you understand how incredibly dangerous that was? These men don't hesitate to kill people who threaten their operations. I do understand, which is why I'm here now. Last night I overheard a video call between Dmitry Kozlov and Dmitry Volkov. They were discussing kidnapping me, thinking I'm a different Maya Chen, to use as leverage against my father. I pulled out my laptop and turned it to face them. I have the recording. I pressed play. For the next 40 minutes, they listened to everything. Volkov's cold assessment of me as leverage. Dmitry's calculated response. The casual discussion of murder and market manipulation. The admission about Dr. Lin Wei's death not being an accident. When it finished, Rodriguez sat back in his chair, his expression grim. This is bigger than we thought. It's worse than big, I said. They're planning to launch the stolen algorithm next week. Once it's operational, they'll be able to manipulate global markets in real time. The 2008 financial crisis will look like a minor correction compared to what they could do. Do you have the algorithm? The SEC investigator asked. I have. Documentation of what it does and how it works. The actual code is on Novatech's servers, heavily encrypted, but I know how to access it. How? I smiled. Because I'm the one who set up their security system. Understanding dawned across their faces. You've had access this entire time, Rodriguez said. To everything. Financial records, communications, code repositories, meeting notes. I've been building this case for 6 months, waiting for enough evidence to bring to you. Last night's recording was the final piece. Patricia leaned forward. My client is prepared to provide full cooperation, including testimony. in exchange for protection for herself and her family. We're also requesting FBI presence at a meeting scheduled for tonight between Dmitry Kozlov, Dmitry Volkov, and Alexei Petrov at Alexander's Steakhouse. You want us to arrest them tonight? Rodriguez asked. I want you to document everything they say and do. Get additional evidence. Then arrest them on multiple charges: corporate espionage, securities fraud, conspiracy to commit kidnapping, and if possible, conspiracy to commit murder in relation to Dr. Lin Wei's death. The agents exchanged glances. The DOJ representative spoke. Ms. Chen, what you're describing is an extremely complex operation that would normally take months to plan and coordinate. You have hours, I said flatly, because tomorrow morning, I'm presenting all of this evidence to the Chen Industries Board of Directors. By tomorrow afternoon, it will be news. By tomorrow night, Volkov and Petrov will be on planes back to Moscow, beyond your reach. Tonight is your only chance to catch them on U.S. soil with enough evidence to prosecute. Another silence, this one charged with tension. Finally, Rodriguez stood. Excuse us for a moment. We need to make some calls. The FBI team filed out, leaving Patricia and me alone in the conference room. Well, she said dryly, that went better than expected. They're going to do it. How do you know? Because I just handed them the biggest case of their careers on a silver platter. They'd be idiots not to. Patricia smiled. Your father is going to kill me for letting you do this. My father is going to thank you for keeping me alive while I did it. 15 minutes later, the team returned. Rodriguez's expression had changed from skeptical to determined. We're in, he said. Full surveillance team at Alexander's Steakhouse tonight. We'll have agents inside and outside. If they discuss anything criminal, and based on your recordings we'll have grounds for arrest. What about protection for Ms. Chen? Patricia asked. Already arranged. We're putting your family in protective custody as of right now. Safe house, full security detail. And Ms. Chen, you'll be wearing a wire tonight. I blinked. Tonight? You want me at the meeting? You said Kozlov thinks you're just his naive girlfriend, right? That gives us an opportunity. If you show up, even briefly, it might make them comfortable. Loose. More likely to talk freely. My heart was racing, but I kept my voice steady. What exactly do you need me to do? Show up at the restaurant around 9 p.m. Act surprised to see Kozlov there. Stay for a few minutes, then leave. That's it. We'll handle the rest. And if something goes wrong, we'll have agents at every exit. You'll be completely safe. I looked at Patricia. She was shaking her head minutely, her message clear. Too dangerous. But I thought about Dr. Lin Wei, dead in a laboratory fire. About the future victims if Volkov and Petrov's operation continued. About every person who would lose everything in the market manipulation they were planning. I'll do it, I said. Maya. Patricia started. I'll do it, I repeated firmly. This ends tonight. Rodriguez nodded. Then let's get you prepared. We have a lot of work to do before 9 p.m. The next 6 hours were a blur of preparation. The FBI team briefed me on how to wear the wire, how to act natural, how to extract myself if things got dangerous. They ran through scenarios, emergency protocols, backup plans. Patricia arranged for my father and brother to be moved to a secure location. My father, predictably, was furious that I'd been investigating Volkov without telling him. But even over the phone, I could hear the pride underneath the anger. You're just like your mother, he said finally. Brave and brilliant and completely reckless. I learned from the best, I replied. Promise me you'll be careful tonight. I promise. And Maya? After this is over, we need to talk about your role in the company. No more hiding. It's time the world knew who you really are. I know, Dad. I'm ready. By 8:45 p.m., I was sitting in a surveillance van 2 blocks from Alexander's steakhouse, wearing an evening dress and the world's most sophisticated recording device hidden in my necklace. Test, test, Rodriguez said through the earpiece. Can you hear me, Ms. Chen? Loud and clear. Remember, you're just stopping by because you were in the neighborhood. You're surprised to see Kozlov there. Stay calm, stay brief, and get out. We'll take it from there. Understood. Team Alpha in position. A voice crackled over the radio. Team Beta in position. All teams ready. Ms. Chen, you're good to go. I stepped out of the van and walked the 2 blocks to the restaurant, my heels clicking against the sidewalk. The cool San Francisco night air helped clear my head. This was it. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd risked, came down to the next few minutes. I pushed open the restaurant door and stepped into warmth and light and the murmur of expensive conversation. The hostess smiled at me. Good evening. Do you have a reservation? No, I'm just looking for someone. I think my fiancé might be here. Dmitry Kozlov? Her smile widened with recognition. Oh yes, Mr. Kozlov's party is in our private dining room. Right this way. My heart hammered as I followed, her through the main dining room toward the back. Through the partially open door of the private room, I could see Dmitry sitting with 2 older men I recognized from photos, Volkov and Petrov. They were already deep in conversation. Papers spread across the table, a laptop open between them. The hostess knocked lightly on the doorframe. Mr. Kozlov? You have a visitor. Dmitry looked up, and his expression went from annoyance to shock to fury in the space of a heartbeat. Maya? He said, his voice tight. What are you doing here? I let confusion and hurt show on my face. Not hard, given the circumstances. I was having dinner with a friend nearby and saw you come in. I thought maybe I could say hello, but... I took in the serious faces, the business materials. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's fine, Dmitry said, standing and taking my arm a little too firmly. Just give me one moment, gentlemen. He steered me out of the private room and into the hallway leading to the bathrooms, away from prying eyes. The pressure on my arm increased. What are you really doing here? He demanded, his voice low and dangerous. I told you. Bullshit. You never come to this part of town. You can't afford dinner in this neighborhood. His eyes narrowed. Are you checking up on me? Have you been following me? No, I was really here with a friend. What friend? Give me a name. My mind raced. This was going wrong. He was suspicious, paranoid. I could see it in his eyes. Sarah, I said, pulling out the first name that came to mind. From work. We were at that Italian place down the street. Prove it. Call her. Dmitry, you're hurting me. His grip tightened. Call her. Now. Through my earpiece, Rodriguez's voice. Ms. Chen, you need to extract. Now. Say you feel sick. Make an excuse and leave. But before I could respond, Volkov appeared in the hallway behind Dmitry. Problem? He asked in English, his accent thick, his eyes cold as Arctic ice. No problem, Dmitry said quickly. Just my girlfriend being clingy. Volkov studied me with an intensity that made every instinct scream danger. Interesting. You didn't mention you were seeing someone, Dmitry. It's nothing serious. Maya, you need to leave. Maya? Volkov's eyebrows rose. Your girlfriend's name is Maya? Something in his tone made my blood freeze. Yes, Dmitri said impatiently. Now if you'll excuse us. Maya, what? Volkov asked, stepping closer. Too close. Dmitri, I should go. I started. Answer the question, Volkov said, and there was steel beneath the polite words. Maya, what? Chen, I whispered, seeing no way out. The name hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Volkov's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Understanding and calculation. Chen, he repeated slowly. And where do you work, Maya Chen? Ms. Chen, abort now. Rodriguez's voice was sharp in my ear. Teams moving in. I'm an accountant, I said, my voice shaking, this time genuine fear. At Mitchell and Associates, I really should go. Wait. Volkov pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. His eyes never left my face. Then his phone buzzed with a response. I saw the exact moment he knew. Dmitri, he said quietly, almost conversationally. I think you should see this. He turned his phone to show Dmitri the screen. A photo, one I'd seen before, from a Forbes article about Jonathan Chen. A rare family photo showing my father, my brother, and me at a company event 3 years ago. The headline read, Tech Titan Jonathan Chen and his invisible heiress. Meet Maya Chen, the reclusive daughter running the empire from the shadows. Dmitri's face went white. Your struggling accountant girlfriend, Volkov said, his voice deadly quiet, is Maya Chen, Jonathan Chen's daughter. Heir to Chen Industries, worth approximately $4.2 billion. That's not, Dmitri started. And she's been living with you for 6 months, Volkov continued. Had access to everything, every conversation, every document, every plan. He turned to me, and I saw my death in his eyes. Teams go, go, go! Rodriguez's voice exploded in my ear. The restaurant erupted into chaos. FBI agents flooded into Alexander's Steakhouse from every direction. Diners screamed. Tables overturned. Volkov's hand moved toward his jacket, but 3 red laser dots appeared on his chest before he could reach whatever weapon he carried. Federal agents! Hands where we can see them! Dmitri stood frozen, his face cycling through shock, betrayal, and rage as he looked at me. You're really her? This whole time? I stepped back as agents swarmed between us. Every single moment, Dmitri. Every insult in Russian. Every dismissive comment. Every plan you made. I heard it all. I recorded it all. You bitch! He lunged toward me, but 2 agents tackled him to the ground, wrenching his arms behind his back. Volkov, even with guns trained on him, remained eerily calm. Clever girl, he said in perfect English, his accent less pronounced now. Your father taught you well, but you've made a very dangerous enemy tonight. Dmitri Volkov, Rodriguez announced, striding forward with handcuffs. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit kidnapping, corporate espionage, securities fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder. You have the right to remain silent. I want my attorney, Volkov interrupted, his cold eyes never leaving mine. And diplomatic immunity. Denied, said a new voice. I turned to see a woman in a State Department ID badge. Your diplomatic credentials were revoked 2 hours ago. Seems you've been operating under false pretenses in the United States. Volkov's mask finally cracked. Just for a moment, I saw fury beneath the ice. They hauled him away, along with Petrov and Dmitri, all in handcuffs. Konstantin had tried to run but was caught in the kitchen. The entire conspiracy, wrapped up in one dramatic night. Rodriguez approached me, removing the wire from my necklace. Ms. Chen, that was incredibly brave and incredibly stupid. You could have been killed. But I wasn't, I said, my hands finally starting to shake now that the adrenaline was fading. Did you get everything you need? More than enough. The conversation at their table alone gives us grounds for a dozen charges. Combined with your evidence, he shook his head in admiration. This is going to be the biggest takedown of a foreign intelligence operation in decades. Patricia appeared at my side, pulling me into a fierce hug. Don't you ever do anything like that again. I won't have to, I said quietly. It's over. But even as I said it, I knew that wasn't quite true. The arrests were just the beginning. The next morning, I stood before the Chen Industries Board of Directors in our downtown San Francisco headquarters. 12 faces stared back at me, some curious, some concerned, all of them powerful players in the tech industry. My father sat at the head of the table, his expression unreadable. David stood beside the presentation screen, ready to support me through what would be the most important presentation of my life. Good morning, I began, my voice steady. For those of you who only know me as Jonathan Chen's daughter, who occasionally attends holiday parties, allow me to properly introduce myself. My name is Dr. Maya Chen. I hold a PhD in computer science from MIT, specializing in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. For the past 3 years, I've been serving as a silent board member under the designation Independent Director A. Murmurs rippled through the room. Several board members glanced at my father, who simply nodded confirmation. Last night, I continued, the FBI arrested 4 individuals connected to a sophisticated operation to steal proprietary technology, manipulate global markets, and ultimately threaten this company and this family. I know this because for the past 6 months, I've been conducting an undercover investigation from the inside of their organization. I clicked the remote. The screen behind me filled with photos. Dmitry, Volkov, Petrov, Konstantin. Documents, financial records, video stills from surveillance footage. Novatech Solutions, funded by Russian oligarchs with ties to organized crime and foreign intelligence, stole an algorithm developed by Dr. Lin Wei, a researcher our foundation funded. Dr. Lin died in what was ruled an accident, but evidence suggests murder. They plan to use this algorithm not just for AI applications, but for market manipulation on a global scale. Another click. Market projection models filled the screen, showing the catastrophic impact the scheme could have had. If successful, they could have triggered financial chaos exceeding the 2008 crisis. Trillions in losses, millions of jobs destroyed, and Chen Industries would have been blamed, as they were positioning themselves to frame us for the market collapse. My God, breathed Margaret Torres, our head of international operations. How did you discover all this? By becoming engaged to Novatech's founder, Dmitry Kozlov, and making him believe I was a struggling accountant with no connections or resources. I met their eyes one by one. I let him think I was nobody, and in doing so, I witnessed everything. The legal exposure, started our general counsel, Richard Park, has been handled, Patricia interjected, stepping forward. Every action Ms. Chen took was documented and reviewed in real time by legal counsel. All evidence was gathered in compliance with federal law and is admissible in court. The FBI, SEC, and Department of Justice have all confirmed the validity of our case. My father finally spoke. Maya came to me 3 months ago with her suspicions. Against my wishes, she insisted on continuing the investigation. I wanted to pull her out immediately, bring in federal authorities. But she convinced me, correctly as it turns out, that we needed ironclad evidence, and that removing her would alert them to our knowledge. He stood, moving to stand beside me. My daughter risked her life to protect this company and prevent a financial catastrophe that would have hurt millions of people. Last night, she wore an FBI wire into a meeting with some of the most dangerous men in international crime. She did this despite my objections, her brother's objections, and every instinct of self-preservation. His hand rested on my shoulder. It's time this board and the world knew the truth. Maya Chen is not just my daughter. She is the future of Chen Industries. Starting today, she assumes the role of Chief Strategy Officer with a direct path to CEO succession. The room exploded with reaction, some applauding, others shouting questions, all of them looking at me with new eyes. I know this is sudden, I said, raising my hand for quiet. I know many of you have questions about my qualifications, my experience, my ability to lead. I'm prepared to answer all of them. But first, we need to address the immediate situation. David stepped forward, distributing folders. Novatech's collapse opens significant opportunities. Their client list, their incomplete technology, their market position, all of it is now in play. We have a 48-hour window to acquire key assets before competitors move in. We're also proposing the creation of the Lin Wei Memorial Foundation, I added, dedicated to protecting researchers and their intellectual property, especially those working in vulnerable positions. Dr. Lin died because he wasn't protected. We can make sure that never happens again. Margaret leaned forward. What about retaliation? Volkov and Petrov have extensive networks. Already handled, said Marcus, entering the room with my father's permission. Ms. Chen and her family are under Level 5 protection, the same level we provide to heads of state. Chen Industries facilities have upgraded security. We've identified and neutralized 3 attempted cyber intrusions since last night. They're going to keep trying, I acknowledged. But now we're ready. And more importantly, they're facing decades in federal prison. Their networks are being dismantled as we speak. The FBI has been waiting years for evidence like what we provided. The meeting continued for 3 more hours. Questions about my vision for the company, my technology expertise, my leadership style. I answered them all, feeling the weight of my double life finally lifting. As the board members filed out, several stopped to shake my hand, offer congratulations, or express their respect for what I'd accomplished. Margaret was the last to leave. Your mother would be proud, she said quietly. She'd known my mother before she died, when I was 10. She always said you had steel in your spine. After everyone left, it was just my father, David, and me in the conference room. I'm still angry with you, my father said. What you did was dangerous and reckless. I know. But it was also brilliant and brave. He pulled me into a hug. Don't ever scare me like that again. I'll try, I promised, though we both knew that in our world, danger was never far away. David joined the hug, wrapping his arms around both of us. So, Chief Strategy Officer, does this mean you're finally going to move into an actual office instead of working from coffee shops? I laughed, the sound surprising me. When was the last time I'd laughed genuinely? I suppose I'll have to. 3 months later, I sat in my corner office on the 42nd floor of Chen Industries headquarters, reviewing acquisition proposals when my assistant buzzed me. Ms. Chen, you have a visitor. She says her name is Dr. Sarah Lin. My heart skipped. Send her in immediately. The woman who entered was in her mid-30s, with tired eyes and a cautious expression. She carried a worn leather briefcase. Ms. Chen, she said. Thank you for seeing me. I'm Lin Wei's sister. I stood, gesturing to the seating area by the window. Please, sit. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Tea? No, thank you. She sat, clutching her briefcase. I've wanted to meet you for weeks, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know if you'd want to see me. Why wouldn't I? Because my brother's work caused you so much trouble. Put you in danger. I shook my head firmly. Your brother's work was brilliant. What happened to him was murder, and the people responsible are in prison because of the evidence we gathered. You have nothing to apologize for. Her eyes filled with tears. The police told me it was an accident. For 2 years, I thought he died because of his own carelessness. But when I read about the arrests, about what those men did, she opened her briefcase with shaking hands. I found these in Wei's storage unit. His backup research, notes, everything. I thought you should have them. She pulled out 3 thick journals, their pages covered in dents, handwriting, and equations. Dr. Lin, I said gently, this is your brother's legacy. Are you sure you want to give this to us? I want them to mean something, she said. Wei died for this work. I wanted to help people, the way he intended. I read about your foundation, the Lin Wei Memorial Foundation, about how you're protecting researchers. That's what Wei would have wanted. I took the journals carefully, reverently. Then I promise you, we'll use this work to honor him. Every researcher we protect, every innovation we help bring to the world safely, it will be because of what your brother started. We talked for another hour. She told me stories about Wei, his quirks, his brilliance, his dreams of changing the world through technology. By the time she left, we'd agreed that she would join the Foundation's board, helping guide its mission to protect vulnerable researchers. After she left, I sat holding Wei's journals, feeling the weight of responsibility they represented. His death had set everything in motion: my investigation, the arrests, the transformation of my role in the company. And now, his work would live on in a way those who killed him never anticipated. My phone buzzed. A text from Rodriguez. Thought you'd want to know. Volkov's plea deal fell through. Going to trial. Your testimony will be needed. I typed back. I'll be ready. Another text, this one from an unknown number. My security protocols flagged it immediately, but Marcus had cleared it. It was from Dmitri. I underestimated you. My only real mistake. I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Dmitri was facing 40 years in federal prison. His startup was dissolved, his reputation destroyed, his future obliterated. Anything I could say to him now would be meaningless. He thought his only mistake was underestimating me. But his real mistake was thinking people were tools to be used and discarded. That brilliance existed only in men. That power came from domination rather than integrity. My phone rang again. This time, it was David. You watching the news? He asked. I turned on the television in my office. CNN was showing footage from the courthouse where Volkov, Petrov, and their associates were being arraigned, representing one of the largest foreign intelligence operations ever uncovered on U.S. soil. The reporter was saying. The case was broken open by Maya Chen, daughter of tech billionaire Jonathan Chen, and newly appointed Chief Strategy Officer of Chen Industries. Ms. Chen conducted a 6-month undercover investigation. My photo appeared on screen. Not the old grainy pictures from years ago, but a new professional portrait we'd released last month. I was smiling, confident, powerful. How does it feel? David asked. Seeing yourself on TV? Strange, I admitted. But also, right. I spent so long hiding David, pretending to be smaller, quieter, less than I was. I'm tired of hiding. Good. Because the board approved your proposal for the AI Ethics Division. Congratulations, Maya. Your first major initiative as CSO. After I hung up, I stood at the window, looking out over San Francisco. The city spread below me, full of ambition and innovation and possibility. Somewhere down there were people like Dr. Lin Wei, brilliant minds working to change the world. People who deserved protection, support, recognition. And now I had the power to provide it. My intercom buzzed again. Ms. Chen, your 4 o'clock is here. The venture capital team from Singapore. Send them in. As I turned from the window, I caught my reflection in the glass. The woman looking back wasn't the struggling accountant Dmitri had known, or the invisible heiress who'd hidden in her father's shadow. She was Maya Chen, Chief Strategy Officer, survivor, fighter. Someone who'd taken pain and betrayal and transformed it into purpose. The door opened and I greeted the Singapore team with a confident smile, ready to discuss the future we were building together. 6 months after that, I stood at a podium at the inaugural Lin Wei Memorial Foundation Gala. 500 people filled the ballroom, researchers, tech leaders, government officials, and advocates for innovation protection. Dr. Lin Wei believed technology should serve humanity, I said into the microphone. He believed that brilliant minds, regardless of their institutional backing or financial resources, deserved protection and support. He died because he wasn't protected. We're here tonight to ensure no one else shares his fate. Applause filled the room. In the front row, Dr. Sarah Lin was crying, but smiling. This year, the Foundation has protected 43 researchers across 12 countries. We've funded security protocols, provided legal support, and created safe channels for innovation that can't be stolen or exploited. We've partnered with universities, corporations, and governments to establish international standards for IP protection. I paused, looking out at the faces watching me. Some I recognized, board members, colleagues, friends. Others were strangers who'd come because they believed in the mission. But we're just beginning. Technology evolves faster than our ability to protect those who create it. So tonight, I'm announcing an expansion of our mission. The Foundation will now include a rapid response team for researchers who face immediate threats, a legal defense fund for those fighting IP theft, and a scholarship program for students from underrepresented communities who want to pursue careers in technology and innovation. More applause, louder this time. None of this would be possible without the courage of people who stand up to power, who refuse to let injustice go unchallenged, who believe that one person can make a difference. I thought of that night 6 months ago, walking into Alexander's steakhouse with an FBI wire. Because one person can. Dr. Lin Wei proved it with his work, and we prove it every day by continuing his legacy. As I stepped away from the podium, the applause was thunderous. Patricia met me backstage, beaming. "Brilliant speech," she said. "Very inspiring." "Thank you for everything you did," I told her. "I couldn't have survived any of this without you." "That's what lawyers are for." "Well, that and keeping you from doing anything else monumentally dangerous." She smiled. "Though I have a feeling you're just getting started." She wasn't wrong. Over the next year, Chen Industries flourished under new leadership strategies that I helped architect. We acquired 3 promising startups, established partnerships across Asia and Europe, and pioneered new standards for ethical AI development. The trial of Volkov, Petrov, and Dmitry became a media sensation. I testified for 2 days, calmly recounting everything I'd witnessed and recorded. Defense attorneys tried to discredit me, suggesting I'd manipulated or entrapped their clients. "Did you deceive Dmitry Kozlov about your identity?" one lawyer asked aggressively. "Yes," I said simply. "So you admit you're a liar?" "I admit I protected myself by not revealing my full identity to someone who, as it turned out, was planning to help kidnap me for ransom." "That's not deception. That's survival." The courtroom erupted. The judge gavelled for order. "Let me be clear," I continued, looking directly at the jury. "I went into that relationship honestly looking for connection. When I discovered evidence of crimes, I had a choice: walk away and let them continue hurting people, or gather evidence and stop them. I chose to stop them. I'd make the same choice again." The jury deliberated for 4 hours, guilty on all counts. Volkov got 45 years. Petrov got 38. Dmitry got 25. As they led him away, Dmitry looked at me one last time. There was no anger in his expression anymore. Just defeat. I felt no satisfaction in his destruction. Only relief that it was finally, truly over. 2 years after the night that changed everything, I sat in my office reviewing applications for the Foundation's scholarship program when my father knocked on my open door. "Busy?" he asked. "Never too busy for you. Come in." He settled into the chair across from my desk, looking older than I remembered but still sharp, still formidable. "The board met this morning," he said. "We voted unanimously." My heart began to race. "Voted on what?" "My retirement, effective in 6 months." He smiled at my expression. "Don't look so shocked. I'm 72 years old, Maya. It's time." "Dad, and we voted unanimously on my successor." He leaned forward. "CEO Maya Chen has a nice ring to it, don't you think?" I couldn't speak. This was everything I'd worked toward, everything I'd dreamed of. But now that it was real, I felt the weight of it settling on my shoulders. "Are you sure?" I finally managed. "I've never been more sure of anything. You've proven yourself 10 times over. The company needs your vision, your courage, your integrity. The world needs it." He stood, pulling me into a hug. "Your mother and I always knew you'd be extraordinary. I'm just sorry she's not here to see it." "She is," I whispered. "She's always here." That night, standing on the balcony of my San Francisco apartment, my real apartment, not Dmitry's, which I'd never returned to, I looked out at the city lights and thought about the journey that had brought me here. I'd been underestimated, dismissed, mocked in a language my tormentor thought I couldn't understand. I'd been engaged to a man who saw me as a temporary amusement, a pretty distraction before his real life began. I'd been targeted for kidnapping by men who thought I was vulnerable and alone. They'd all been wrong. I wasn't vulnerable. I was strategic. I wasn't alone. I had family, colleagues, and a growing network of allies who believed in the same principles I did. And I wasn't anyone's toy, temporary or otherwise. I was Maya Chen, PhD from MIT, Chief Strategy Officer turned CEO-elect of Chen Industries, founder of the Lin Wei Memorial Foundation, the woman who'd brought down an international criminal network and changed the trajectory of tech industry ethics. My phone buzzed with a text from David. "Congratulations, Madam CEO. Mom would be so proud." I typed back, "Thanks, little brother. Couldn't have done it without you." Another text, this one from Marcus. Security briefing tomorrow at 8 a.m. The CEO package requires enhanced protocols. And finally, one from Dr. Sarah Lynn. Just heard the news. Wei would have loved this. Thank you for everything you've done in his name. I stood there as the San Francisco fog rolled in, covering the city in its nightly blanket, and I smiled. Dimitri had been wrong about so many things, but he'd been right about one. I was persistent. I did keep trying. I just wasn't trying to land an entry-level position. I was trying to change the world, and I was succeeding. The Russian oligarchs who'd planned to use me as leverage against my father had no idea that they weren't funding Dimitri's startup. They were funding their own downfall. The money they'd invested, the resources they'd committed, all of it had been turned against them through evidence and testimony that would keep them locked away for decades. And the algorithm they'd stolen, we'd recovered it, improved it, and we're now using it not for market manipulation, but for predictive modeling to prevent financial crises before they started. Dr. Lin Wei's work was finally serving humanity the way he'd always intended. I'd turn their weapons into tools for good. As I headed inside to prepare for tomorrow's meetings, there would be many now as word of my promotion spread. I thought about that night in Dimitri's apartment, chopping vegetables while he mocked me in Russian. If I could go back and tell that version of myself what was coming, the danger, the fear, the triumph, would I? Yes. 1,000 times, yes. Because that journey, as terrifying as it was, had transformed me from the invisible heiress into the leader I was always meant to be. And tomorrow, I would begin writing the next chapter. Not as someone's girlfriend, or someone's underestimated opponent, or someone's potential victim, but as myself. Completely, powerfully, unapologetically myself. The game was over. And I had won. The end. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.